Enoch die or didn't he? One of the big questions that many people develop is the quest to say that Enoch died. But would that be biblically true? We see the quote about Enoch in Genesis 5:24, and we find that Enoch walked with God and God snatched him. This verse is in a list of genealogies, defining children, and period of death. For example, if we continue reading the verses in Genesis 5:25, it says that Methuselah begat Lamech, and if we still continue in another verse in the case Genesis 5:27, we can see that it says all the time that Methuselah lived, and defines that Methuselah died. But note that it does not say that Enoch died. Genealogy determines birth, sons, and death. But in Enoch's case there is no mention of death. Let's read Genesis 5:24 again, and we can see that it says that God took him for himself, because Enoch walked with God. Seeing at this point we have that God would not take for himself dead Enoch, because the concept of the text is that after so much walking with God, God took Enoch to continue walking with him. See that we have two factors, that there is no death in the genealogy for Enoch, that would define death if someone died, and we have to have logic to take Enoch, if he remained alive. Some people, to justify false doctrines, seek to say that the term "it was no longer" contained in the text that says, Enoch walked with God and was no longer, because God took him for himself, would define that Enoch died, but for that we should ignore the genealogy, which would have to say that Enoch died at the time, and we would have to ignore the plot that God had taken for himself, to continue walking with God. But what do you mean, it wasn't already? According to Cambridge University, the term does not define dying, it just defines not being found. So the term was no longer, it means to say, it was no longer found, just that. Furthermore, if we go to Hebrews 11:5, the verse says what we analyzed, saying that Enoch was raptured, so he did not experience death, he was no longer found because God had raptured him, because before he was raptured received testimony that he had pleased God. Now we have both in the Old Testament, and in the New Testament, the quote that Enoch did not die, and was taken away. To define that Enoch died after reading the verses, would be to try to say that the verses are false, and as we have in both Testaments, we would have to annul the Bible. Usually groups that seek wrong doctrines, try to override clear biblical definitions, using dubious terms. In fact, we should read the terms as they are actually written, and not seek to create imaginations in terms that try to change what is clear in the verse. In fact, what we have is that biblically speaking, Enoch did not experience death because he was taken away.
If you are looking for more content from different areas, visit the reformadorstazad.com website. News and detailed content can be found with system of research and organization of text and video.